I'm here to explain the impact that has, the personal impact and the impact for everybody in my situation. I mean, I think you can imagine from what you've been hearing, it's devastating. It's just a quagmire now. It's just chaos. And I was sucked in about 3 years ago when I remember where I was. I remember everything about that moment because I realised straight away. We got an email from my managing agent with a link, and in the email it said, we're under threat of a prohibition order from the fire brigade. And if we don't implement a waking watch and change all the fire alarms and various other things, fire doors, etc., we'll all be evacuated within 28 days. And you've got to bear in mind, this was in the middle of a pandemic. So there's nowhere to go. You're barely allowed to sit down on the street or be out for more than an hour. So it was kind of crazy. And then the waking watch, none of us knew what prohibition orders or waking watches were at that point. But then we had all these sort of random people in high-vis jackets wandering around our apartments at a time when the message of fear was being pressed. You don't go near anyone. So that was a bit disconcerting. It was a strange thing to do at that time. Where was the danger? But yeah, and it also, I could just see the chaos, and you can hear it from Alison and Sarah. It can't work. So now, as soon as I was halfway through the link, which was an internet review about what was going on, and I just thought there won't be enough resources to make this happen in good time. There isn't enough money. Who's paying for this? We're talking millions. And at that time, material costs are going up, labour costs are going up. You know, it's a pandemic as well. So we took second, nobody was interested. No, they only cared about that. And anyway, we found out because some people were trying to sell. So our freeholder, who is also my neighbours, I didn't buy the freehold. In fact, they bought it before I even bought the apartment. So I'm just a regular leaseholder. I pay ground rent. I have no say in anything. But because some of my neighbours bought it, we're considered enfranchised. Hence, I am now disqualified from all help. And without any plus side at all. And we were told, get ready for, we had a meeting following the email, get ready for 70,000, 200,000, and get ready now. So that was 3 years ago. Still haven't had that big bill, but now I'm going to get it because this is the thing, it's the unknowing. It's the fact that you're just being churned up in this. And I joined the campaign scene behind the scenes. This is not my comfort zone doing this at all. But I did everything I could, went to the protests, wrote, but and then watching when the Building Safety Act went through, and one by one they all got kicked out along with polluter pays, all the amendments that would have protected us. And then when I found out I was considered non-qualifying, it was, I mean, again, penny dropped immediately. Like I said, a two-tier system. Why would anyone buy a non-qualifying in perpetuity flat? I wouldn't, with what I know. So at the moment, we got the Building Safety Fund, but they kept putting it back because costs were spiralling. So we got an agreement for like 2 million. But by the time they came to do the work or gave us the money, because they didn't give it straight away, it was 4 million. And so they were like, well, we can't give you 4, but we were like, if you wait another year, I think some spark somewhere said, if we wait another year, it'll be 6 million. So we're in the process of having our external works done, but obviously the internal works, we failed everything. We got a B2 rating, there's polystyrene behind our walls, there's no fire breaks, no compartmentation. And as they're doing the external works, we're having regular meetings with the construction company, and they are finding more and more defects that aren't covered by the Building Safety Fund. So it's just escalating. You know, we cannot pay. It's impossible. And as Alison and Zahara were saying, there'll be buildings where they're part qualifying and part non-qualifying. So even the qualifying won't be able to go ahead because, you know, who wants to even take the forfeiture? My neighbours don't particularly want. It's a liability now. And there'll be a run on the banks because there'll be loads of. I mean, it hasn't started yet. What I've had and what's been difficult, an understatement, is the threat, this sword of Damocles over my head for 3 long years. Tomorrow, get ready tomorrow. And then there's hope. It looks like, you know, the no leaseholder will pay rhetoric. And then they vote against us on everything. And the waterfall, last point of call, it's bound to be the leaseholder in almost all cases will pay, whether it's the cap or unlimited, which is my case. And I was on sale before I became non-qualified. And I've had two eager buyers, one before the BSA went through, and they were very eager to buy the flat. And I was very open and honest about where we were, that we got the building safety plan, etc. But as soon as we got, so I had the lawyers, months and months of preparing all the documents, getting everything ready. We get to that long, even though I told the estate agents, tell them everything that we know. There's a lot that I don't know. I have no idea how much my bill will be. I imagine it will be unpayable by most of us, but it's especially now. I had two sales, but the Building Safety Act came through, and I had to say non-qualifying the landlord certificate. As soon as they see that, gone. Then I had another buyer who was really keen, cash buyer. As soon as they see non-qualifying, I'm out. So that's how it's going to be. And I've tried to explain this to my fellow leaseholders, some of whom are leaseholder freeholders, because they're still on the hook for it. It doesn't really help them being freeholders right now, except they're also responsible people. We had a meeting the other day with our contractors. There are about 100 residents, then there are 61 flats. So some are tenants, some are owner-occupiers like me. There was one person who turned up to this meeting, me. Not one resident showed up. But then after they all come, and I kept saying every time I saw someone, don't forget the meeting on Thursday, don't forget the meeting on Thursday. They didn't show. And then afterwards, they're like, oh, so what happened? I'm like, you've got to support this. And it's the same, like none of them have ever turned up to protest. I've never seen anybody there. So there's this general apathy. But I think the issue there is that the truth will out. It will hit the fan. I was just consumed by this. And writing always on Twitter, just trying to get as much information. Steve's been very helpful. And unfortunately, information can sometimes hurt. Like ignorance is bliss. So not knowledge, I couldn't unsee what I saw or know what I know now. And when we became non-qualifying, that was just the icing on the cake. It's like there's just this black chasm ahead. So unless the polluter pays goes through, or the building safety remediation scheme, as it's now called, I mean, it's just, I don't see a future for this. And I don't see how government can think that this will work, because it just won't. The big bills will start falling, bankruptcies will happen. As we said, people will lose their professions. I'm very angry about this situation. It's so unjust. I've done nothing wrong, and it's destroyed my life already.
Amanda, thank you so much. It's actually heartrending to hear your story, because it's one that I've heard from so many hundreds of other people. It's I think there is this lack of awareness. I think that there is a sense that, oh well, the government has put this in place, and so it must be all right, mustn't it? And I think that's the narrative the government would like us to all understand. But this seems to me to be a time bomb waiting to go off. I have concerns beyond the immediate effects, dire though they are for individuals, and that is the potential effect if this starts to take hold more generally in the leasehold market. And I think probably everybody in this room knows that I don't particularly take sides on this question of whether it's traditional leasehold or common hold, but whatever we have that's in place at the moment has to function, and there has to be a market that functions. Otherwise, we are rarely stuck. And if we get into a nightmare scenario where the market, the lenders, the insurers turn their backs, or even not necessarily overtly turning their backs, but somehow this becomes not the sort of thing we want to back, then that's a potentially huge write-off for a lot of people. And if it's not an actual present day write-off, then it's a write-off in terms of the performance that it would otherwise have achieved in terms of its sectoral performance as against other residential property types. But enough from me. You all know what it is that drives me on this particular thing. But colleagues here and those online, maybe you have questions you'd like to